Have you ever stopped to think about sound? I mean, really think about it? It's everywhere. It can warn us of danger, fill us with joy, or just let us know someone's home. But what is it? What's actually happening? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the incredible science behind every single sound you've ever heard. Let's dive in.
So let's start with that big question. When you hear something, what is actually traveling through the air and hitting your ear? It's not a physical thing you can catch, but it carries a ton of information. To really get it, let's just think about a few sounds we hear every day.
Okay, imagine it, a knock at the door. You don't see anything happen, right? But instantly your brain gets the message. Hey, someone's here. That's pure information, and it just traveled right through the air to you. Or how about a school bell? That specific sound carries a very clear message, a command almost. Time to switch classes, or better yet, time to go home. Again, it's just information coded into a sound wave. Our hearing is so good we can often tell who's coming just by the sound of their footsteps. So what do all these things, a knock, a bell, a footstep, have in common? What is the one invisible force that's creating all of them? Well, the answer is actually really, really simple. And it's totally invisible. Every sound that has ever been made, from the quietest whisper to the loudest thunderclap, starts with one thing and one thing only: a vibration. And that's it. It's just a little wiggle, a simple back and forth movement. This one single idea is the spark for everything we hear. It's the absolute foundation of sound. Hey, don't just take my word for it. You can literally prove this to yourself right now. If you stretch a rubber band and pluck it, you hear that little twang sound. And you can see it shaking, right? It's vibrating. But the second you grab it and stop that movement, the sound is gone. Instantly. The connection is undeniable. No vibration, no sound. Period. And you'll see this everywhere once you start looking for it. For a musical instrument like a vina, it's the stretched string that vibrates. For a tabla drum, it's the stretched skin on top. In a flute, it's actually the column of air inside that's vibrating. Even when we talk, it's our vocal cords shaking back and forth. It all comes back to vibration. Okay, so we've got a vibration, that's step one, but that's just the start of the story. For us to actually hear it, that vibration has to go on a journey. So how in the world does it get from, say, a guitar string all the way across the room to our ears? And here is the absolute key. Sound can't just travel through nothing. It needs something to travel through. Scientists call this a medium, but you can just think of it like a highway for vibrations. Without a highway, the sound has nowhere to go. And this highway can be a gas, like the air that's all around us. Or it can be a liquid. That's how whales talk to each other over huge distances underwater. Or it can even be a solid. Try this sometime. Put your ear on a wooden table and have a friend tap on the other end. You'll hear it super clearly because the vibration is just traveling right through the wood, passed along from one particle to the next. This is why deep space is completely silent. In a vacuum, there's no air, no highway. So if you put a ringing phone inside a glass jar and sucked all the air out, the sound would just fade to nothing, even though the phone is still vibrating like crazy. Which means, yeah, all those epic spaceship explosions in the movies, in reality, they'd be totally, eerily silent. All right, so the sound wave has surfed its medium and finished its journey. It's arrived at the final destination, the human ear. Now, how does our body take this physical vibration and turn it into something our brain can actually understand? Well, the whole process kicks off at a tiny, delicate membrane called the eardrum. You can picture it just like the skin of a drum. When those vibrations traveling through the air finally reach it, the eardrum starts to vibrate too, perfectly in sync with the sound. And from there, this amazing chain reaction happens. The eardrum passes the vibration into the inner ear, and this is where the real magic is. The inner ear converts that physical shaking into a tiny electrical signal. That signal zips up to the brain, and it's only in that final step that your brain goes, aha, that's my friend's voice, or that's my favorite song. So our brain gets this electrical signal, but how does it know if it's hearing a high-pitched bird chirp or a deep, low lion's roar? How does it tell the difference? Well, all the information is actually encoded in the sound wave itself, using two main properties. First up, you've got pitch. How high or low a sound is. And pitch is all about frequency, which is just a fancy word for how fast the vibration is.
So slow, lazy vibrations, like from a big drum, give you a low pitch. But really, really fast vibrations, like the ones from a whistle, give you a super high pitch. Simple as that.
And this exact same idea explains why our voices sound the way they do. Men tend to have longer, thicker vocal cords, about 20 millimeters long, so they vibrate more slowly and produce a lower pitched voice. Children, on the other hand, have the shortest vocal cords, so they vibrate the fastest, and that's why they have the highest voices. It's all just physics. Okay, the second part of the sound code is loudness. This is all about amplitude. And you can just think of amplitude as the size or the power of the vibration. A tiny, gentle vibration, that's going to be a soft sound, like a whisper. But a big, powerful, forceful vibration, that creates a loud sound, like a roaring engine. Now, we measure this loudness using a unit called the decibel. And the decibel scale is a little tricky because it grows really, really fast. So normal breathing is super quiet, just 10 decibels. A normal conversation is around 60. Busy traffic is already up to 70. And it's when we get up to these higher numbers that sound can actually start to affect us physically. And that brings us to a really important number to remember, 80 decibels. Because anything above this level can stop being just a sound and can actually become physically painful. And worse, it can cause real, permanent damage to your hearing.
All of this brings up a pretty interesting thought, right? What is the real difference between a beautiful piece of music and just unpleasant, unwanted noise? You see, this unwanted sound, what we call noise pollution, isn't just annoying. It has some really serious consequences for our health. We're talking about things like lack of sleep, high blood pressure, anxiety, and of course, temporary or even permanent hearing loss. But here's the good news. We're not helpless here. We can actually do a lot to control the sound in our environment. It can be something small, like just turning down the TV, or something big, like designing quieter engines for cars and airplanes, or even just planting more trees, which are fantastic natural sound absorbers.